Hello, friends. It's a wonderful time to be here right now. So, if you're listening to this as a podcast, then this is episode 2 of the Contemplative Currents podcast by Sherry Green. This is, in fact, essay 83 of the Contemplative Currents on Substack. So, if you're not already subscribed to my Substack, you should. There are tons of contemplative essays that are designed to draw us to the mystery of existence, to the mystery of love, the mystery of who we are at the core, long before we start to place labels and meaning and description to our experience. So you can find a link directly on my website, sheyekuyinu.com. That's SEYEKUYINU.com. Like I said, there are tons and tons. There are 83 essays. Some of them are on, contemplative exercises. I write about surrendering and letting go. I also have essays on Christian mysticism. So over here in Jacksonville, Florida, where I live, I'm recording this on the very last day of 2024, and you'd probably be reading this in the new year 2025. So a happy new year. I'm excited for what's to come on this platform. So please expect tune-ups and experiment in my delivery on this glorious stage. I have a beautiful contemplative exercise for you at the end of this recording, and I'm excited to explore this exercise with you. So let's jump right into this essay. So this is the chicken or the egg, the obvious answer for which came first. And I subtitled this, Transcending the Pair of Opposites to Find Wholeness, including a contemplative exercise. So, which came first, the chicken or the egg? How many times have you tried to solve this age-old question? Isn't it an interesting thought exercise to figure out which one possibly came first? Isn't it also obvious that no matter how hard you defend one side of the argument, you could see something true about the other side of the argument? In fact, one recent study found that chickens produce ovoclidin 17 in the uterus, which causes the formation of the thickened calcium carbide shell that eggs are made out of. And you can check this out on Wikipedia for further reading. But in choosing this particular side of the argument, it totally ignores another important piece of information that may suggest that the egg must have come first. You see, chickens, it turns out, are interbred result of multiple species of wild jungle fowls through centuries upon centuries of domestication. With this in mind, well, the chicken emerged from the egg. Instantly, another argument may emerge in another form, like, but we're talking about chickens and not breeding, aren't we? Friend, sadly, I must point out that in these analyses about which one came first, it may not be too shocking to find out that just this year, 2 men in Indonesia got into this same debate, one of them killing the other over his own conviction of the answer. And I leave a link to further reading on my Substack. Even from this unfortunate event, isn't it so easy to see how the human mind has the tendency to divide reality into binaries? Cause and effect, right and wrong, heaven and hell, love and hate, past and future, life and death, rich and poor, good and evil, God and Satan, and on and on and on. What's absolutely interesting to see is that beneath its apparent simplicity, there's more fascinating metaphor for the way we approach life's greatest mysteries. We seek origins, we assign causes, we divide reality into neatly labeled compartments. We push ourselves into this interesting game that we cannot and will never win. One that reflects our deep-rooted desire to make sense of the world through linear thinking. By we here, I'm in no way pointing to any particular person or, quite frankly, not even to humanity at all. I'm pointing directly to the wondrous utility of the mind. The mind is non personal, it never was. But humanity caught the infection of seeing the mind as personal. The infection that humanity caught from the proverbial munching of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Oh, haven't you seen that we have bitten into this bug? We now can see our nakedness. We now want clothes where there was no nakedness. Our eyes are now open to seeing duality where there was none. Come on, can't you see it? Don't you see our relentless quest to trace everything back to a singular beginning? We crave a starting point, a moment when something emerged from nothing, a first cause that justifies what follows. We argue about a Big Bang theory. We argue about if life really did start from the Garden of Eden. We argue about who created God before God was created, as if there was ever a beginning. Oh gosh, can't you see? There was never a beginning and there will never be an end. Can't you see what eternal life is and what it's made of? What's even crazier is that this drive for clarity extends beyond biology or philosophy or our evolutionary conversations. It permeates our relationships, our career, and even our identity. We ask, where did this begin? As if knowing the origin will grant us mastery over the whole. What we haven't figured out is that just like the chicken and the egg, many aspects of life defy such simple categorizations. Our quest for origin, if not taken for comic relief, is only a fool's chase. You don't believe me? Okay, read on or listen on. You see, our habit of dividing reality into opposites, cause and effect, creator and created, problem and solution, often forces us to choose one or the other on this crossroads of binaries. By focusing exclusively on one side of the equation, we lose sight of the fact that perhaps there are no causes or effects. Because a cause may be an effect, and an effect a cause. Neither leads, neither follows. They exist in a perpetual give and take, a yin and a yang. Perhaps our pausing to see that there are literally no sides to this allows us to reconsider our approach to properly seeing that there are really no binaries in reality and in truth. Have we paused long enough to wonder if these divisions are as real as they seem? In dividing reality into opposites, the light and dark, good and evil, cause and effect, self and other. Well, I want to pause here for a second to acknowledge the reality of these, though. But this also creates an illusion of separation that limits our understanding of the interconnected nature of existence. See, an illusion is not the absence of an image. It's simply seeing that the image is not as it appears. So, to transcend duality, we must see beyond these distinctions and recognize the unity that underpins them. And that is to perceive the whole rather than just its parts. In fact, in seeing the whole, we see that parts are just an illusion of the whole. Easy to see, right? I wish. Of course, it's easier said than done, and I can't wait to share with you a contemplative prompt at the end of this essay that will help you see beyond the illusion of duality. And this illusion of duality, or seeing beyond this illusion of duality, is going to be from your own direct experience, and I think that's something really going to be really interesting for you to uncover for yourself. But first, let's consider these ideas. When two dancers are in perfect synchrony, don't you see that both dancers dissolve? What then exists is the movement in the dance. And that's what we love about watching dancers, right? think about the synchronized swimmers in the Olympics. One step flows into the other, creating a seamless rhythm that only makes sense when seen as a whole. The ancient Chinese philosophy of Taoism captures this insight through the concept of yin and yang. These two principles are not in conflict but in dynamic balance, each containing a seed of the other. Light cannot exist without darkness, or it won't be light. Just as activity is meaningless without rest. Don't you think so? Let's look at music. Music would not be music if it didn't have pauses. Some are shorter than the other. But there are as many pauses as there are notes in music. Together they form a harmonious whole. A wink wink, nod nod, reminding us that life's apparent polarities are interdependent rather than oppositional. So at this point you may be thinking, Cher, are you saying there has to be evil for there to be good? Friends, you may be missing the point here if that's the question. You see, there's no good and there's no evil. Yes, I know. Hold on, just hold on. I will explain. Maybe I should phrase it this way. On an absolute perspective, on an absolute plane, there is no good and there's no evil. You see, good and evil are constructs created by our perception to categorize actions and events in a way that fits within a moral framework. But what we label as good or evil often depends on context, perspective, and conditioning. So a single act can be seen as good by one group and evil by another. In the natural world, for instance, these labels dissolve. Nature simply is. So let's examine the natural world for a second. A lion hunts its prey. And when it hunts its prey, it's neither seen as good, doing good or evil. It's just life unfolding. When we look deeper, we see that what we call good or evil are expressions of the same underlying reality, each giving meaning to the other within the dance of existence. So when we transcend these labels, we find a space where actions and events simply arise, free from the weight of judgment, and part of a greater interconnected whole. So it's not hard to see that philosophical traditions across the world echo this idea. In Zen Buddhism, for example, in a test of a student's clear seeing or enlightenment, the teacher asks a koan, "What is the sound of one hand clapping?" In truth, the question was not meant to have a simple answer, but to dissolve the very framework of dualistic thinking. A student whose dualistic thinking hasn't dissolved would have the wrong answer. But a student who gets the answer right gets a response from the teacher that's marked with silence. In recognizing this silence, the student takes this same silence not as emptiness, but as fullness, a direct pointer to the unity beyond opposites. In Advaita Vedanta, for instance, non-duality, which really translates as Advaita, emphasizes that the apparent distinctions between self and other, subject and object, are ultimately illusory, dissolving into oneness when truly seen. Beneath these surface differences is really an indivisible oneness. Heraclitus, the Greek philosopher, posited that the path up and down are one and the same, highlighting the unity in opposites. Jesus, in teaching what's today known as the Lord's Prayer, taught, "Thy will be done in heaven as it is on earth." In another, Jesus was written to have said, "Whatever you bind in heaven shall be bound on earth. Whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." Oh, these teachings, when seen for what they truly are, move one beyond the fragmentation of duality to seeing a different picture, one of wholeness. Did I mention that I can't wait to uh, to show you or to walk you through the contemplative prompts at the end of this audio? So, listen, we don't even need to wax too philosophical to start seeing these interplay of dualities as wholeness. Look at ecological systems that thrive on the balance of opposites. Growth comes from decay. Think plant and manure. Predators and prey relationships are another example. For there to be a healthy predator, there has to be prey, and vice versa. This dynamic interplay of forces is hard to unsee when seen. In fact, look at the gross human experience of love and hate, or joy and sorrow, or success and failure. At first glance, these emotions and experience seem irreconcilable. We think love and hate must be different, yet romantic love can transform into hate when expectations are unmet. And sorrow often deepens our capacity for joy by making us more appreciative of life's fleeting moments. It's this recognition and respect for the pairs that allows us to appreciate the richness of the human experience without being trapped by attachments to one side of a duality or the other. Try making a single-sided coin, a coin with only one side, not the other. Try it. Okay, all of this talk and examples, and we haven't gotten to the actual meat of this matter. So how do we see beyond this duality? Before I go into any of my juicy prompts, I will reveal this secret. In the late Anthony de Mello's voice, he says, awareness, awareness, awareness. I wish I could put the Indian accent there. But it's all about awareness. No. I'm not talking about the awareness like informational awareness. I'm talking about awareness as the ground of a deeper layer of sensing, if you will. Now let's use the mind for this one. Imagine sitting quietly, observing the ebb and flow of your own thoughts. Got it? No, really, close your eyes for a minute. Now observe the ebb and flow of your thoughts again. Good. Now notice that you may have noticed that in one moment you feel drawn towards clarity. The next, confusion arises. Like, why am I doing this? What's going on here? Is this the exercise? I mean, they're just going to be thoughts, right? But in that stillness where there's some clarity, you may notice how these opposing states emerge from the same space of awareness, each dissolving into the other without resistance. Or maybe you notice some resistance, but it dissolves anyway. And then another thought arises, and it dissolves. What is it that they dissolve into? You see, awareness, like a vast sky, it holds both sunlight and the storm, unchanging and untouched by their coming and going. This expansive awareness is the doorway to transcend duality, and it reveals the seamless wholeness underlying all distinctions. By cultivating awareness, if this can be cultivated really, we can observe our tendency to cling on to one side of a polarity while rejecting or attempting to reject the other. Hence, why mindfulness training or mindfulness practices train us to witness thoughts and emotions without judgment, exposing the transient and interconnected nature of all experiences. In this state of detached observation, the boundaries between opposites begin to dissolve, and we begin to perceive the underlying unity. Oh, I should say this right now. Transcending duality does not mean rejecting opposites or denying their existence. That's not what I'm talking about here. Instead, it involves integrating them into a broader perspective that honors their interdependency. So just as the yin-yang symbol contains both light and dark in a single circle, Life's polarities form a greater unity. When we step beyond duality, we move from fragmentation to wholeness, from either or thinking to both and understanding. In stepping beyond duality, we discover freedom. The endless struggle to choose one side over the other gives way to a profound sense of peace. We begin to see that the dance of opposites may actually not be a problem that needs to be solved. Instead, it becomes a rhythm that dances itself. This recognition has the inherent capability to transform our approach to life by allowing us to navigate its complexities with grace and equanimity. In transcending duality, we awaken to the infinite interconnectedness of all things, realizing that the whole has been present all along, waiting to be seen. The whole was God in its godness and goodness. So, is it the chicken or is it the egg? The question itself dissolves as we step back and see the cycle for what it really is. An infinite loop where neither is first nor last, where both are essential and interdependent. No, the chicken didn't come first, and neither did the egg. The question was always the answer. Wait. No wonder Jesus said, "The last shall be first, and the first shall be last." There was something there for us to glean into. Oh, what beautiful mystery. So I can't wait to share this beautiful exercise with you. So this exercise, if you pay attention to it, it will allow you to see how these dualities dissolve into each other. It's interesting how this collapse happens and how you can see the event of life as usual transform into this mysterious liquidity, if I will call it that. So close your eyes and bring your attention to your breath. Can you observe how the inhale gives rise to the exhale? Are they truly separate? Bring attention again to your inhale and then your exhalation. Are they truly separate, or do they form a single, seamless rhythm? Now bring your attention to this rhythm. Notice how the in-breath calls the out-breath like a lover that yearns for his beloved to come back. Now, while you relax and surrender into this, let's play a little with your imagination. I want you to think about a very active ocean with all the waves rising and falling. Perhaps you can hear the beautiful sound of the waves. Now I want you to just imagine the waves, just the waves for a second. Let's explore this question. Where does the wave begin? where does it end? Can the wave exist independently of the ocean? Is the wave different from the ocean? Now let's apply this to yourself. Where do you and the world begin? Stay a little longer here, darling. Where do you end? And where does the world begin? Now let's examine something a little bit more moralistic. I want you to imagine or remember an event you labeled as bad in your own life. Now, how did it contribute to something good? Can you see how the two are intertwined and perhaps inseparable? Just like your in-breath, your inhalation, and your exhalation. Now let's go a little bit deeper. I want you to bring awareness to your thoughts and feelings in this moment. Who is it that's aware of these thoughts and feelings? Now, I don't want you to look for an intellectual answer to this. Sink into that question. Who is it that's aware of the thoughts and feelings? Notice your thoughts arising or feelings arising. Now, notice they come and go like the ocean waves that rise and fall. I want you to notice who it is that's aware of the thoughts. Notice how the awareness itself is constant, regardless of the content, regardless of the rising and falling. There's just a constance here. In a second, I would wrap us up from this contemplative prompt. I want us to explore yet another thought experiment here. And this is something that we can take into our interactions with others. In a moment of conflict, you can pause and observe what exists in the space between opposing sides. When you pause and observe, is it empty, or is there a stillness holding both sides together? Are you able to see this space between opposing sides? Look again. Look again. Do you see it? Any space between both opposing sides that draw both sides together? Look again. And that's it, my friend. So, with this prompt, you may start to find that dualities dissolve into a greater whole, just as the chicken and the egg are not separate entities but are an unbroken whole. And this is a truth that was always present, waiting to be noticed. Thank you once again for listening to this podcast, and I hope to share more insights, more thoughts, more contemplations with you. For now, grace and peace, my friends.